Welcome back to the Autoimmune Edible RX podcast. I'm your host, Laura Rodriguez, chef with rheumatoid arthritis and certified autoimmune holistic nutrition specialist. And this is a show that helps you use anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle as medicine. If you find yourself hungry for more, check out my free on-demand webinar, Successfully Flare-Free, that I've linked for you in the show notes below. It's the secret to successfully using anti-inflammatory food consistently enough to actually reverse autoimmune symptoms, stop disease progression, lessen inflammation, and start living again without sacrificing great tasting food or cooking all day. So definitely sign up for that after you listen to today's episode. I've linked it in the show notes below. All right, let's get into it. A few days ago, we finally announced on social media something that we've been keeping private for years. Our family is moving to Italy. And the response has been incredible. So thank you to everybody who sent messages, well wishes, words of encouragement, and even questions. I really appreciate it. But we've noticed something that a lot of people are assuming about our move, and that is that we're moving to Italy because the food is leaps and bounds healthier in Europe than it is in America. And I want to talk about that today because the truth is a lot more nuanced than that. Okay. And honestly, this move for us has very little to do with food. Okay. Now, before I go any further, let me say this. I love Italy. I love Italian food. And Italy feels like home to me in a way that is actually kind of difficult to explain. I studied abroad in college in Rome, and I've always thought that I would retire in Italy, but after having taken my family there a couple times in the last few years, I found myself really not wanting to leave. Like I was in tears on day one in our trip to Rome because we were going to have to leave in 5 days, and constantly thinking about when are we going to go back next? When are we going to go back next? And so for a long time, the idea of moving to Italy was more like a dream than a reality, and a dream that honestly felt impossible, if I'm being completely honest, because, the visa requirements are really intense. You have to, secure a house for 2 years before you ever even apply for the visa. We'd have to sell our house and everything in it before even knowing if we would, like, um, be approved for the visa. So there's a lot of different moving parts. And then on top of that, we've recently learned about all of the tax, laws that we're going to have to abide by, and even the homeschooling laws that we'll have to abide by since we homeschool our daughter. And so honestly, it's been a lot to learn, and every step along the way, we would think to ourselves, one minute, okay, let's do it, let's go all in, and then next minute we'd be thinking like, oh, maybe it would just be easier if we didn't do this. It's been a lot of back and forth, to be honest with you. But finally, after years of figuring it all out, we've realized that, life is just too short to wait. Okay. It's time to go for it. And that's what we're doing. So we came up with a plan that felt really easy for all of us, including my daughter who's homeschooled. And we are set and ready to leave January 2027. And I'm so excited to share that with you guys on the podcast. But here's something I want people to understand. Okay, we're not moving because we think that the bread and pizza and pasta and everything in Europe, it doesn't affect us, and we can eat however much and whenever, however much of it we want, whenever we want, and not have any symptoms. Okay. Look, I've helped people heal from autoimmunity for years, and I've been doing it for myself since 2015. I don't believe that health is all that simple. And I also think that there's a lot of personal responsibility involved. Okay, no matter where you live, you still have to make the right food choices, ones that agree with your body, right? You still have to flip packages around at the grocery store and read the ingredient lists. You still have to understand like how much of a food you can have in one sitting without ending up in a flare, right? And so all of it matters, and you have to pay attention to it all. You cannot just eat with abandon in Europe because the wheat is different and expect to not, relapse or end up in a flare or, develop a second or third autoimmune condition down the line. Plus, when it comes to healing autoimmunity, food is only one piece of the puzzle. And now that I'm actually certified to talk about all the other things that contribute to the onset and therefore the proliferation of autoimmunity, I feel confident in telling you, something that I've noticed over the years that people abroad always say is, I can eat all the gluten I want, I can eat all the dairy I want. And Yeah, well, some of it might come down to like the farming practices and ingredient quality being stronger and stronger regulations and food processing being different. There's something else very important happening that doesn't get a lot of attention, right? People are not talking about this. You're on vacation, right? So you're walking more, you're sleeping better, you're laughing a whole of a hell lot more, you're spending more time outdoors under the sunshine. You're eating your meals slower, right? You're putting your fork down in between bites and you're having a conversation. You're sitting around a table with people that you love and enjoy their company, right? You're seeing beautiful things every day that bring you happiness and joy. You're experiencing new things, which brings you excitement, right? And you're living in a more relaxed state. Whether that's I'm on vacation for 10 days or I decided to move to Italy, right? It's the same. So you're not spending all of your time in fight or flight mode, right? You're more in a rest and digest mode. And that is very important. That matters, okay? It matters for nervous system, it matters for digestion. Both of the two things are completely connected, okay? And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, health isn't just about what you eat, right? It's also about the experiences that you have every day, whether or not your body feels safe where it is, right? And that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from my own autoimmune wellness journey in the last couple of years. I always tell my students like it wasn't like I I started changing my diet and lifestyle and then boom, the next day everything was great and I was perfect and I never had to look back. For me, just without thinking about it, I feel like every year I've added another healing modality to my habit stack. And over the last couple of years, it's been all about nervous system regulation. So I actually spent 1.5 years every single week undergoing intense brain spotting sessions with a trauma therapist so that I could um, basically regulate my nervous system, get stored trauma out of my body, and make space in my life and in my heart and in my mind and in my body for fun and enjoyment so that I wasn't constantly just trying to survive, but now I can really thrive. Okay. And so, yes, food matters, but so does stress, right? So does community. So does having a purpose, right? So does being able to do things that bring you joy every single day, having fun, that matters too, having adventures in your life and being in awe of the world. All of these things are anti inflammatory, right? And so that realization is a big part of why we're making this move. Okay. So when people ask me why we're moving to Italy, my answer usually comes down to three things. Number one, slower living. Okay. We have spent years building businesses, remodeling our home, growing our own food, raising our daughter, homeschooling our daughter, and just in general, working very, very hard nonstop. Okay. And I'm grateful for all of it. It's brought me to where I am today and it's given me the opportunity to go where I'm going next. But I've also realized that I don't want my life to be to be defined by a constant hustle, right? I I can slow down. I have done a lot, right? I've achieved a lot. I've had a lot of successes in my life, and that doesn't determine who I am or my worth or what I can do or where I can be, right? I want more space in my life, right? To do things that I love. I want to actually get back to cooking for enjoyment. Cooking used to be my therapy. Cooking now it's something I have to do. It's something I have to do to make money. And so, yes, after I spend all day cooking for other people, the last thing I want to do when I come home is cook for my family. But I have autoimmunity, so there's nothing else I can do. I have to eat at home at least 80 to 90% of the time, right? So I want to get back to finding joy around cooking, finding joy around creating, especially content for you guys. I would love to be able to create cooking videos for you guys and cooking content. I don't have the time to do that now, right? So yes, I want more flexibility, more joy, but also more time to like just enjoy a slower pace of life and just ordinary things like sitting in a piazza and people watching or running into a neighbor or a friend on the way to taking my daughter to a school activity or something and actually having the ability and the flexibility and the time and the patience to stop what I'm doing right then and there and engage with somebody and like let's sit down for a coffee and have a chat real quick. I cannot wait for that, right? And number two, healthier living. Okay, so not healthier because the gluten is different over there, but because of the lifestyle. The lifestyle is completely different. It's not a live to work mentality. It's a work to live mentality. And I learned that when I studied abroad in Italy, and I always admired that and I always aspired to that, but I've never been able to achieve that here in America. But also walking everywhere. I walk up and down my driveway every single day for hours in order to get my 10,000 steps every day. I used to actually leave my house and drive to a park and do laps around the park. But there's that resistance, right? Between like, okay, so what I decided is if I just walk up and down our driveway, which is very long, then there's nothing stopping me from doing it. All I have to do is walk a few steps to get out my front door and boom, I'm walking. Versus the other way, it's like I gotta get in the car, I gotta get dressed to be outside and do people-y things. A lot of time you'll see me, I'm doing videos up and down the driveway as I'm walking. I'm in my road. Sorry, neighbors. But there's less resistance for me there. And so that has been a blessing for me, but also I'm extremely bored. I love walking. It's my favorite thing. In fact, when I moved back to America from South Korea, because I used to teach English in South Korea, the number one thing I did was I wanted to work in a food related job. So I got a job as a dishwasher in a cooking school, but I also wanted to work and live in the same area so that I could walk to work and I didn't need a car. So what I did was I actually found myself an apartment on the same street that I worked. So I would walk to and from work every day. That's how my husband met me. Actually, he knew me before I knew him because he used to work in some of the storefronts, renovating the storefronts, and he would see me. And I used to wear like this long red pea coat that I bought in Italy, and he would call me the girl in the red jacket. He didn't know who I was. I never had seen him before, but he would watch me from afar in a non-stalkerish way. But that's what I did. I was like, I want to make this a priority because I love walking. I love it. And it's interesting because my husband's claim to fame is when I met you, you didn't even have a car. But it was like I didn't want a car and I didn't need a car, right? Because I'd already lived in Italy, I had already lived in South Korea, and I had learned for me personally, I really enjoyed walking and I miss that. We last night, me and my daughter went out. We stopped for groceries after work, and then we stopped for dinner. And then we were walking around after dinner, and we found a gelato place. Randomly, we found a gelato place. We're like, okay, well, let's walk around while we eat our gelato. And it's so funny. I took a video. I'll have to share it on social media. This is one of the things I will not miss about Tennessee. On our walk, which didn't get us very far, the sidewalk just stopped. It just stopped. So we ended up just walking around kind of like this little plaza that had the grocery store and the restaurant that we ate at. And it was it is so different. Nobody prepares you for how hard it is to go from just an ordinary walk, either to your hotel or from your hotel to a restaurant, and then just around town to take in some sights in Europe or Asia or many other places around the world to walking in Tennessee. It is so hard because most of the streets don't have sidewalks. And then when you find a sidewalk, you get excited and it abruptly stops. So, all of that to say, yes, I am excited about more walking. Sounds simple, but I am. Also, you know, goes hand in hand with that less driving. We spend hours in the car getting to work and back because we live, depending on where you are, 35 to 45 to an hour north of Nashville. And some days for clients that live in Franklin and Brentwood, I'm in the car longer than I'm in the kitchen. Depends on the client and the situation, how much food they order, and then of course how far away they are. And Nashville traffic is nothing like it was when we first moved here. We actually moved here. We were excited about how small the town was, but it had a big city feel, but there wasn't that many people. And so there was no traffic. It was easy to park anywhere. There was no paid parking anywhere, pretty much anywhere. And it is so different now, 12 years later. So I'm excited to, yeah, live more of a walking outdoor, getting everywhere where you need to go by public transportation, train, buses, whatever, and then walking majority of the rest of the time instead of just driving everywhere. Even to get to the grocery store, it would take me 45 minutes to an hour to walk here, but it's a 5-minute drive. So it's just a completely different lifestyle. And I'm excited for more opportunities to gather, with people like I talked about earlier, more just spontaneity. And so I think all of this contributes to calm and peace, right? We know stress can actually tear holes in the gut lining, and increased intestinal permeability is a precursor to autoimmunity and most chronic illnesses. And so, just the act of having more joy, having less stress, being more in tune with nature, and being outside more often, that's going to bring me a lot more joy. and it's going to improve our gut health, which is going to improve our condition. And yeah, I'm just all about it. I'm super excited. And then lastly, kind of touched on this already, but adventure. Honestly, like I said, we've been here for 12 years and we are just ready for a new chapter, something fun, something exciting, just something you just can't get here. You just can't get it. It's if we can go to Paris for a weekend or go to Spain for a weekend, or there are places I've never been that I would love to go. Obviously, I have to take my daughter to places I've already been because she really wants to go there too. But I want to go to Turkey. I want to go to Morocco. I want to go to Tunisia. I want to go to Georgia. There's so many places that I haven't been that I really want to go. And then there's also like friends that I have all around the world that I would love to be able to see. So and none of this is because we haven't built a great life here or our life is bad. It's just time to expand. It's time for more. I think as soon as I was able to finally heal my nervous system and get all of the bad stored traumas out, I felt a little bit empty, not gonna lie. And so I feel like it's time to put some good in. So that's really what this move is all about. It's not about escaping our lives. It's just about creating something that feels more aligned to, our own desires and the future that we want for ourselves and for our family. All right, so before I wrap up, I want to address one final thing. I alluded to this on social media that, moving to Italy is not going to magically solve all of our problems, and it's not going to look like the picturesque, picture perfect, depiction that you see in movies or on social media where some person just packs up a luggage and moves to Italy and gets gets a villa in Tuscany and then everything is perfect and their life has changed. Every country has its upsides and its downsides, right? And every lifestyle comes with sacrifices. I'm not saying that this is going to be easy peasy. It's going to be hard in its own way, right? We're leaving behind our family and friends, people that we love dearly. We're leaving back, familiarity, right? Like our life is so like there's no what's the word I'm looking for? It's not it's very predictable and there's comfort in them, right? Um and so yeah, this is not a decision we're making lightly. We've talked about it a lot. We've thought about it a lot, but we are making it with intention, knowing that it's going to be hard in its own way and it's going to be challenging. And it's actually going to challenge us in ways that we've never been challenged before. Yes, I've traveled to dozens of countries and I've lived abroad twice, but my husband and my daughter have not. So it's going to be interesting and it's going to require growth and it's going to be uncertain. And we don't know what's going to happen. We might hate it. I don't know. But I feel like sometimes the life that you're hoping for it only exists on the opposite side of taking a leap of faith. Like you just at some point you gotta freaking do it to figure out if that's what you want. Do you know what I mean? And so I want to share what our actual plan looks like because no, we're not just packing up, buying a villa in Tuscany, and then boom, all of our, problems are and then you're on a Vespa every day and you know how it is in the movies. It looks so perfect, but the reality is a lot more complicated than that. And so we were all set to actually put a deposit down and pay all the fees for the like booking service. So we found a lovely rental company that helps you move to Puglia. If anybody wants their information, I'm absolutely happy to share it with you because they are wonderful. Now they do have a bunch of fees involved, but for me, because this was such a colossal move and there were so many different moving parts, I personally was willing to pay those fees to have a few other things as far as bureaucracy was concerned done for me and off my plate so I didn't have to think about it. But yeah, we were all set up to put a deposit down to pay the first and last month's rent plus all the fees on a 24-month lease of a beautiful, beautiful apartment in Lecce, which I'm still hoping the company said contact us, a few months out before you move. I'm still hoping we can still secure that rental for the 3 months that we're there, but and on the 6 months that we're there, but it'll be 3 months at a time, and I'll explain why. But yeah, we were set to have this for January 2027 to January 2029. Okay, so that we could apply for the digital nomad visa because you actually have to have your housing secured before you ever can apply. And the housing has to be inspected. It has to meet all these legal requirements. You have to have paperwork. It is a whole thing. Okay, you have to have contracts and the amount of things that you have to do in order to apply for digital nomad visa, I could do a whole nother post on because it is in depth. Okay, there's a lot of different things. Um, But yeah, we also learned that homeschooling, yes, while it is legal in Italy, which was the first one of the first things we Googled, is homeschooling legal? Okay, fine, let's go on with it. But then as it got down to the point where like, okay, we're going to secure this rental, let's tie up some loose ends, let's check on a few things. And that's when we learned, yes, it is legal, but you actually have to teach a specific Italian curriculum. And each year in June, all students that are homeschooled have to take the standardized Italian test in Italian. Okay. And look, my daughter has only been studying Italian for 1 year. Okay. So in order to pass on to the next grade, you have to pass the test. And look, if my daughter was like older, I'm sorry, if she was younger and she was able to kind of assimilate and like learn Italian while she was learning English, this wouldn't be a problem. Hey, I want to take a second to interrupt this episode to share something with you. One of the things I've learned over the last decade of navigating autoimmune disease, healing my body, and building a business, homeschooling my daughter, and preparing for an international move is that information alone doesn't create change. Most people already know what they should be doing. The challenge is figuring out how to apply it to their real life in a way that's actually sustainable. That's why I've created multiple ways to work with me. If you're looking for a self paced, step by step approach to using food as medicine, my self paced courses will walk you through that process beautifully. If you're looking for ongoing support, community, and accountability, my Autoimmune Edible RX course and coaching program helps you stay consistent with weekly check ins and monthly cash prizes to motivate you to actually take baby steps towards using anti inflammatory diet and lifestyle as medicine to heal. And if one on one support is more your vibe, I offer a variety of services to help you work towards your health and wellness goals. From private coaching classes to 12-week coaching programs, pantry cleanouts, and more. So, whether you're trying to reduce inflammation, simplify healthy eating, create more sustainable routines, or simply stop feeling so overwhelmed by all of the conflicting information out there, there's an option that can meet you where you are. You can learn more about all of my programs and services at cheflaurarodriguez.com. I've linked that in the show notes for you below. Now, let's get back to today's episode. But our daughter's in the sixth grade. Okay, so that means she's going to be tested on sixth grade material with sixth grade Italian vocabulary levels. So it's just too much. It's too much for me. It's too much for her. And I just feel like this is going to cause the opposite of what we're seeking for. We're going to Italy to have a slower, easier, more gentle, more adventurous, more fun life. The last thing I need is rigidity around what I'm supposed to teach her and stress about is she going to pass this exam so that she can move on to the next year. Like it's just too much. Not only that, I have like in the back of my mind, my cousin who lives in Rome, her son had like PTSD from being put in a French immersion school before they moved to Italy. They were in France, and I really don't want to give my kid PTSD. Okay, so, and look, I'm not saying learning Italian and passing the sixth grade exam is impossible because I know she could get a tutor and the school will work with her. I understand that, but it's just, it feels like because I've done so much work healing my nervous system over the last couple of years, I'm ready for like, yes, I'm ready for something like slower, softer, and less difficult, if I'm being completely honest. But also, I want to leave space for fun. I don't want this to be all business as usual. You know what I mean? And so, for this reason, we have decided to do this instead. Instead of applying for the digital nomad visa, getting our house, and then moving to Italy, and boom, it's day one. By the way, it's day one, boots on the ground. You have to start making income because there's income requirements in order to keep the digital nomad visa because you have to reapply for it every year. I said, look, let's do this instead. Let's do the Schengen shuffle where you can stay in Italy for 3 months and you have to leave for 3 months. And you can stay in Italy for 3 months and you have to leave for 3 months. Okay. Now, there's this thing called the Schengen zone where these different countries in Europe are all connected as part of this zone. So yes, if you want to go to Paris, if you want to go to Spain, if you want to go to Germany, if you want to go to Italy, those days all count as your 90 days that you can be in this area. Okay, so it wouldn't be I can stay in Italy for 90 days and I can go to Spain. It wouldn't be that. So I figured let's do Italy for 3 months. We'll leave for 3 months. We'll come back to Italy for 3 months and we'll leave for 3 months again. That gives Ruby 6 months in Italy to practice her Italian, to learn, to see, read, hear, practice all the things. Okay. And then we can we can travel along the way. If we want to other places that are, either in or out of the Schengen zone, we can figure that out. But our point is we want to make a home base in an area where we can actually start a business and establish residency in Europe. Because in order to come back and apply for the digital nomad visa later, you have to have residency somewhere. You can't just be a traveler floating in the world, okay? Plus, when you are traveling, you're not allowed to work. So if we do it this way, we're actually allowed to work in Europe, and I'm going to be allowed to host retreats and gluten-free tours or whatever I want to do. And um, and then when it comes time to, when we're ready to, when Ruby's got her language skills up and we feel comfortable, we'll go ahead and apply for the digital nomad visa. And this feels so much more easy for me. It feels doable. It does not feel nearly as stressful as having to get all of the paperwork ready, sell all of our belongings, sell our house, get my daughter's language skills up, be prepared for 6 months after we touch down in Italy to have her taking this exam. So, so yeah, technically we are moving to Italy, but we're going to be living in Italy 6 months out of the year, max at first, until we find the house of our dreams, get our daughter situated with her schooling. And then the other 6 months of the year, we're going to live somewhere else, somewhere outside of the Schengen zone. So hopefully we'll be able to see our friends and travel in between, see some of those places that I would really like to visit that I've never been to, and, squeeze in a lot of adventure along the way. And honestly, for me personally, the first 3 months, I'm taking off. Yes, I'm going to be still running my course and coaching program. I'll be doing a little bit here and there, but I'm not going to be pressuring myself to make any sort of income requirement. I want to take time to live and enjoy life because, look, I have been working since I was 13 years old. So it is time for me to take a break and to reset and to use that time to drum up some creative energy for where I want to go in the future. Because I would love to be able to bring content to you guys where you get to see and learn how to cook anti-inflammatory no matter where in the world we are. And also to show you behind the scenes of what we order at restaurants and what we eat and where we go and what we see. I want to share it all with you, okay? So another thing I wanted to share with you is something that I found was really cool because a lot of times the little nuggets that we've been learning along the way were like, oh, wow, that's difficult, or that's a lot, or wow, that's a lot. We're going to have to pay in taxes for that. But this was a positive thing that we learned is that in Italy, kids actually get to choose once they hit the age of 16 whether or not they want to continue with schooling in high school or go to college or enter the workforce. So actually, after a couple years of floating here and there and traveling and being free and flexible, once we find our house and Ruby's language skills are good, she's only going to have to take those standardized tests and do that Italian curriculum for a couple years. So I think it's going to be actually a win-win situation. I'm actually really looking forward to it. So I know this sounds absolutely crazy, and many of you watching this are going, how in the world are you going to do this? I don't know. But for right now, I feel really good about it. We're all very excited. And if you're wondering, like, what does this mean for your business? The good news is I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to keep my business here in Tennessee. While I will eventually be hanging up my apron here in Tennessee, I will be training somebody to replace me so that any and all of my clients that still want services here will actually be able to have that. So I'm going to keep my business. I'm going to work on, running that remotely. It'll be very hands off. I'm going to give myself some time and space to, drum up my creativity again and actually find joy in cooking again and um, let cooking heal me like it did in the past. And then I'll be working with clients virtually on the side. So I've added a whole set of new one-to-one virtual services that I can offer you guys, including virtual cooking classes, pantry makeovers, custom meal plans for anybody that's like, I have this many dietary restrictions, but I also don't like X, Y, and Z. I don't want to join your course and coaching program and have to flip through the 400 different recipes to find the ones that I like. I just want you to tell me how this is what we like. This is what we can and cannot eat. Can you put it into a meal plan for me? I'm also rolling out a new amazing 12-week one-to-one autoimmune wellness coaching program, which I'm super excited about for anybody that wants weekly accountability, needs motivation, needs hand holding, but doesn't want to have to go through a group coaching program where you're kind of, it's like I have a set content schedule that I follow inside the group course and coaching program. So you have to kind of wait until we get to the things that you really need to work on. Whereas the one-on-one coaching will be entirely geared towards where you are right now in your journey, where you want to be, and what you're struggling with the most. So I can continue to help you use anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle as medicine, no matter where in the world you are, no matter where in the world I am. And honestly, one of the things I'm most excited about is the retreats that I'm going to be hosting in Italy. My husband actually just got certified to be a sound healer, and he got his breath work certification. I forget what that's called, but he's officially certified to lead breath work and sound healing sessions. And we're working on getting all of his equipment for that: tuning forks, Tibetan singing bowls. I am so excited because the two of us together are going to bring you guys the most amazing, transformative, delicious, beautiful, fun, adventurous healing retreats in Italy. It's not just going to be come and learn how to make pasta or come and let's walk around the town and see the things. We're also going to build into that some healing things so that you can go back to your home country feeling revived, and reinvigorated and completely ready to take healing into your own hands and continue the progress that you've gained on the retreat. So I cannot wait for that. Right now, I did a poll yesterday on Instagram and everybody voted for September of 2027. So I think that's what we're going to do. And it's going to take place in Puglia. I already have the Airbnb picked out. It's a lovely local couple that I know. I really want to support them. And the house is amazing. And there's going to be different levels so that there will be three different types of what am I trying to say? Three different payment options, right? So that you can join no matter what your budget is. And we're going to take a payment plan so you can slowly pay for it over the months. I can't wait. I'm like, this is what I'm most excited about. So we're actually, when we go to Puglia, we're actually going to rent the Airbnb so we can go there and see it in person and make sure it's exactly what we want. But it's got a beautiful big pool outside. You're going to have to follow me on Instagram to see that because it's incredible. But yeah, it's all because as I've done this over the years and now that I'm certified, I know, okay, healing isn't just about food. And now I can go and teach you all the other things it's about. It's about slowing down. It's about deep connections with real people. It's about sharing meals with others. It's about experiencing joy. Okay, it's about regulating your nervous system. It's about creating a life that supports your health. Okay, and I can't think of a better place to do that than in our new future home in Puglia. So while my address may be changing, my mission isn't. Okay, I'm still here. I'm still here for you. I'm just going to be helping you from a different time zone. That's it. And with different looking ingredients. Okay. And hopefully with some beautiful scenery as well. So I hope you'll be coming along the ride with us. All right. That is all I have for you for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share this with a friend or leave us a rating or a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps other people with autoimmunity find this show and hear this message. So I'll see you again on the pod soon. Until then, if there's only one thing that you could do for your health today, please eat your damn vegetables. It really, really makes a difference in your health, and it can help you get off that roller coaster ride of flare ups that you might be on right now. Okay, bye.